Hey, y'all, what's up? Welcome to the latest episode of the Dads in the Class podcast. Of course, you know me, your host, Dion the Glad Dad. This is the podcast where we discuss fatherhood engagement and family engagement and education. This is episode number 5, y'all. They didn't think we would make it this far, but we made it. Another episode, got another dope guest for us to sit and talk with and just talk about his journey and talk about how important education is to him and how important it is for him to be involved in the education of young people. This is somebody that I've known for a very long time, somebody who has been a mentor to me, a brother to me, a confidant. There's been times when I've got ready to do something that was crazy, and he just kind of pulled me back by the leash. So definitely want to have him on the podcast because he is doing some really, really great things, and he is just somebody that I think is important that we have a conversation with. So I want to introduce Mr. Pezo Johnson to the Glad Dad podcast. What's up, Pezo?
Appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me for the Glad Dad podcast, bro.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
man. Glad you could be here. I think it's long overdue. So I'm glad you could be here with us in this position and in this space to just kind of talk about how we can engage our young folks in education. And I know that you're doing some really, really great work. I know you have been doing really, really great work for a very long time, but one of the things that you're doing now is focusing on your pain on paper pop program, which is something that's really, really so amazing. We'll get into details on what it is, but I want to first start talking to you about your journey from um, being a radio personality. And let me say, because a lot of people in this space don't know that that I did radio for 20 years. So a lot of people see me in these podcasts, and they don't have any idea that I've been in radio. I did radio for 20 years, and this is how Pizzo and I met when I was just a rookie in radio. He actually taught me a lot of the game. But just as someone who was a radio personality to now being the founder of the pop program, and I know it's something that is inspiring. It is something that is a passion of yours, but I want you to share what kind of ignited that passion for you to start working with at-risk youth.
I think it's just because I could relate. And you know what? My first job is right in your backyard. I was working with juveniles over at Butner.
Mm,
So I had a friend, he was like a mentor. Two of them actually. I think it was Frank, that played football for North Carolina Central University. I was a player as well. They were older though, and I think my man Tennessee, rest in peace. But they were work. I think Frank was working over at Butner at the time, and then one of my good friends, Derek Boone, who got killed in Durham, got shot and killed in Durham, and um, they just asked me to kind of come over there because they knew I was in a dark place at that time. So they asked me to come over and kind of like talk to the kids, and I did. And when I came over and talked to the kids, man, they just related to me so well that he was like, "Man, they want you to come back." And I came back. Then eventually started working there as a counselor,
mm, mm,
and that's where my journey kind of began. But at the same time, I was just started my journey in radio as well. So, I've worked at Butner for a while, a couple of years, maybe 2 years, and then I followed my career to into Florida radio.
mm, mm. Now, the name of the organization, Pain on Paper, is quite, it's a captivating name, right? Tell me the story behind the name of Pain on Paper, and how does it kind of speak to what your organization does?
Well, actually, the name kind of started out as Poems Over Pistols.
Mm,
That's where Pop come from. That was the first name, and I had a presentation for Clayton County, and I did very well. And one of the administrators pulled me to the side after it was over and was saying, he said, "Listen," he said, "you got a great product. Concept is really good, man. We love it, but you need to change. You need to take that pistol out your name."
mm,
So, at first I was like, "Nah, that's what we do," because that was in '09. We was really seeing the trend of gun violence. So I kind of wanted to stick to that. But then as a little time went on, I was like, you know what, he's right, and that's what birthed Pain on Paper. So it was poems over pistol / pain on paper for a minute. So I just really focused it on Pain on Paper, pop.
Hmm. 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 Now, give us an idea of what pain on paper actually looks like. What is included in the program, and what is it exactly that you do with the pop program?
So our overall mission is basically to help decrease the gun violence, but also teach emotional intelligence, anger management, conflict resolution. And what we do is we have 5 channels. We call them the pop channels. These are the 5 creative channels that youth can use to be able to, redirect some of that pain and that trauma and that anxiety and that depression into a rap, art, poem, song, or short story, which spells out raps. And what we do is we teach these different channels, and they can be able to put those feelings and all of that anxiety, or what like I said, depression, into one of these channels. And we teach these channels, and through these channels, we teach things like um, self-surveillance. That's a term that we came up with years ago. And self-surveillance is basically when you get into a situation where you're overload or at a crisis and you're ready to do something impulsive, you start recording yourself. You turn on a red button and you record yourself as before you make a move. So we really focus on trying to get kids not to have impulsive behavior. That's
Hmm.
our
Hmm.
thing. Like, impulsive behavior is really the cancer, really the thing that's really hurting our community across the board, just making
Hmm.
impulsive decisions. So when we create these different channels, and they can put those feelings in, like, because a lot of them had that anger or that one thing that probably caused the anger. Once they discover that and put it into a creative form, and then they start listening to themselves, because when they write it, we also record it. So I have producers, I have a team of producers that come in, and we record their composition, whether it be a poem, whether it be a rap, whether it be a song, maybe it's a short story. They record them, and then we add music to it. And we take those pieces and compositions, and we sit down with the parent or the guardian and the kid, and we discover what is the underlying problem that's causing this kid to either act out, or to have impulsive behavior, or to just be angry.
Yeah. So it sounds like the work that you're doing aligns with some of the competencies for social emotional learning,
Yes.
things like self regulation, things like that. How in your experience, how does channeling emotions into creative expressions, how does that impact the mental well being of a young person?
Well, see, at first, a lot of kids don't understand their emotions. They don't know what emotions trigger feelings. So we have an emotion wheel that we have in the curriculum, where they can see the different emotions, and then the feelings that go and coincides with that particular emotion. But once they tap into understanding their emotional, and they learn more about social emotional learning, um, they be better in making better decisions, and not impulsive decisions. So if it's anything that they can learn, that we want them to learn, is not to be impulsive, and how to be able to take a couple of seconds to make a sound decision. And if we can just get that, then I feel that we are winning. But I don't know, did I answer your question? Is that what you wanted?
Well, I mean, just dive a little bit deeper into just the creative expression pieces. So, if a young person is interested in, let's say, rap, if they're interested in poetry, like how will it impact their mental health, so to speak, right? By being able to put that pain on paper.
They're expressing it. See, a lot of times they got these feelings, they don't express it. They don't
Mhm,
even want to touch on them. They don't even want to talk to nobody about them. But see, once that's the bait. The music and the creative outlets are the bait for them to be able to express themselves and really let you know what's really going on inside. So if they're writing a rap and they're writing a rap about, you know, adults, and then they write this rap about adults, what they don't like about adults, and they put in, I don't like adults because maybe I was touched by an adult. You know what I'm saying? So now you
mhm,
get that underlying problem that's really the nucleus of those negative behaviors is coming from that. So when they're able to express themselves and tap into those different feelings that they don't really express to no one else, they're getting it out. So therefore, it's helping their mental when they're doing that.
mhm. Pizzo, what would you say should be the biggest concern? Because you and I are both parents, and we have dad conversations sometimes about our kids, and we know the struggles that a lot of our kids are facing. And you and I have been talking about the impact of music on these kids for probably the last 15 years or more. But I want you to talk to the parent who might not know what's going on with their child, and what would you say is the biggest threat to our young people and their mental health right now?
Video games. I
Mhm,
think I think video games uh, really captures a lot of the kids' attention.
mhm,
And now, and I think the video game industry understands that this is happening, so they want to also bring in the music because now you can download the music to the video game and you can listen while you're playing.
mhm,
So I think the video games is one of the main ingredients to really captivate our kids in a positive way, negative way, and in a positive way. Is video games and social media. You
mhm,
know what I mean?
mhm,
Social media is one of the things that is really causing a lot of the kids to really act out or pick up other behaviors that they really wasn't exposed to.
mhm,
But if they seeing it on social media, they're exposed to it, and then they put it into their behavior toolbox. I don't know.
mhm. And I think it's safe to say that neither of those things are going anywhere, right? Video games have been around since you and I were kids. It's funny, my son was playing Roblox the other day, and it dawned on me that when I was a kid, we would play Duck Hunt on Nintendo. I don't know if you're old enough to remember Duck Hunt, Pizzo. You're a young man.
Yeah.
Um, on Nintendo, and in Duck Hunt, we actually were taking a gun and putting it up to the TV screen
Hmm.
and shooting the ducks and killing the ducks. Now, granted, that's totally different than what they have now, but when we think about those seeds being planted 30, 40 years ago, right?
Hmm.
And things only getting worse over time. I think now, of course, we have more information and we have more resources, but I don't think this is anything new. I think when you look back at it, I think that this is something that has been um, going on for a while, right? Because at that time, I remember when I first got my Nintendo, I was 6 years old, and Duck Hunt was the first game that I got, and I remember using the gun. Now it didn't, make me want to go out and commit a crime or do anything like that as I got older, but that was still a seed that was being planted. So, um, in terms of social media, I think that you're spot on both of those points. Both of those issues are issues that we are going to have to address, but I don't think they're going anywhere. So I want to ask you, what are some strategies that you think parents and teachers can put in place to kind of counteract the effects of um, video games, social media, music, all of these things that we see are having a huge impact on our kids.
Get the pop program, paint on program. I mean, just like you were talking about duck hunting, we didn't have nothing like Grand Theft Auto, GTA.
Mm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
When I first seen a kid playing GTA, I say, man, that's the manual to being a crook.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Like it show you how to break in the car and show you how to go in and breaking in somebody's house, shooting people, robbing. I was really blown away when I first seen that. So and it has a radio station that's playing the latest music, so it's really giving them the manual to it all. But I don't. Parents just have to be more aware of what their kids are taking in. But it's almost like it's going to be here, man. It's nothing that you can really do. The more that you try to discourage a kid not to play it, you're encouraging them, because when you tell them not to, you're encouraging them to do it even more. So
mm-hmm.
I don't know, bro. That's a real good question. You know what I mean? I want to throw it back at you. What you think?
Well, I'm someone who has experience raising a teenager, right? So my daughter is 19 and my son is 5. So I think one of the things that was always important to me was open communication,
Mm,
right? Because I was always of the belief that, like you said, you're not going to stop them from exploring certain things, because as long as they have some sort of device, some sort of technology, there's going to be access to something that you don't agree with.
mhm,
But open and honest communication, constant dialogue. When my daughter was young, I would always have conversations with her about things that were going on. So like when the movie, what was it, the Netflix show, like 28 Reasons Why, whatever it's called, the show that was about suicide,
mm,
that came along when my daughter was at a very, having some mental health challenges of her own. So I
mhm,
took that as an opportunity to start having conversations with her about mental health and about suicide, and just letting her know that
mhm,
she had an outlet if she ever needed to have a conversation. Because again, in this age of technology, there's nothing that you can do unless you're going to strip them of their cell phone and give them a little flip phone, which, I've heard some parents say they do that, but when they go to school, they got Chromebooks, they got laptops, they got all of this same technology at school. I saw something the other day that said that now the kids are bringing their old phones to school to let their friends who might not have access to the internet or might not have access to a phone use their phone, like just use the Wi-Fi and just hop on the Wi-Fi and do their thing.
right.
So I think for me, open communication and also just, living by example, man, just, being an example and not just talking the talk, but walking the walk, and, being a reflection to your kids of what you want them to look like. I think that's really the one of the only ways that we're going to counteract a lot of the things that we're seeing, and just instilling those values in them and letting them know that the things that they see in these video games and they hear in these music videos, like it's not real. You know what I mean? Like I've always told my daughter, like, it ain't real, like not real.
Mhm.
And I hope I did a good job. Like we we
Well,
19,
yeah,
so
yeah, y'all did it great. She going to A&T?
yeah, Aggie Pride, she at ANC. So
I mean, yeah,
um
I don't know if you've been doing a good job then. You might have been doing a horrible job because,
she
I
didn't want to go
I
to
went to
Central,
North
man.
Carolina Central, so we
She did
don't.
not want to go to Central. I'm sorry. I hate to disappoint you, but she was not trying to go to Central. She had her mind set that she was getting up out of here. She was getting up out of the triangle. I don't
That's
know. It's just
nah, nah. I mean, um, I think you did an outstanding job, bro. To be able to get your daughter, in college, and
yeah. Thank you, man.
from early on when we both were having challenges, with our situations, and
Hmm.
stay positive, you stay focused, and look at the fruit. So that's a major plus for you, man. I'm proud of you on that. Seriously.
Yeah, thank you, good brother. So let's talk about fatherhood a little bit. You as a father, you have a daughter as well. How do
Mhm.
you see the work that you do with the pop program intersecting with your life as a dad?
Well, my situation has been very different. A couple years ago, I moved back to Virginia to um, have a kidney transplant surgery to give my mom a kidney, and so um, it took me about 2 years, a year and a half to actually to have the kidney, because every time we was planning to go, something was going on with her blood count, or it's a blood pressure or different things. So it took us like a year and a half, but I ended up staying for about 5 years. So she would come some summers to Virginia from Atlanta, and or come and spend some time with her, go a daddy daughter dance and stuff like that. But you know, it's interesting because it's almost like she anticipating me coming at her with the principles of pop. So I try to kind of fall back a little bit, and I don't do as much of the things that I do with pop. Now she's only 12, so once she become a official teenager, maybe that's when it'll all kick in. But right now, um, I have to take a different approach. I use some of the methods, but I use them in a different way.
Mm, mm, mm. Um, let's talk about schools because you have told me success stories of the pop program, and we've talked about some of the work that you've done. But how do you explain to the teachers that are listening? Explain to the school administrators who are listening or watching right now how the pop program can be used in the classroom and why it's important.
Well, how they could be used in the classroom, we have a curriculum. We have different people that came. I have a committee, was filled with doctors and music therapists, and just youth professionals who can design this great curriculum. And so now we're shooting actual videos to kind of break down the different methods of the pop process. And I think this will work great in class because I'm a former teacher myself. And, I understand that, sometimes in class, how videos can be used as a great instrument as getting kids' attention and getting them engaged. And this is great because it's music is a major component of the pop process. Being in the music industry for over 20 years, I use that, and I use my counseling background. And what's so crazy is that in every market that I did radio, I was also a counselor at a juvenile detention center, or a youth alcohol and drug center, or a teen homeless shelter. So I've been in different environments dealing with youth. But when it comes to a teacher, how to use this program in a classroom is a great asset, because we also have games in the curriculum, word games in the curriculum. But it's also interesting because we have a portion in there, it's called dissection, where we take a verse from a song and kind of get the interpretation from everybody. What do you think that artist was basically saying? Which is very interesting because everybody has their own different personal take or interpretation of what the artist is saying. So that caused the dialogue between the teacher and the kid. And once you get kids to kind of feel comfortable and having fun while feeling comfortable, they engage more. So this is a very good engagement type of tool to use. And not only that, one in these compositions and drawings, you can read between the lines and kind of get a little bit of intel on what this kid may be going through.
mm, mm. Now you talked about your time in radio, and you've been in several markets. I know South Carolina, Virginia, Atlanta, Florida. Um, and that's an experience that you and I both share.
Mhm.
But you and I also share the experiences of working um, outside of radio and doing things outside of radio to be advocates, just like you advocate for youth. I've been advocating for fathers and for responsible parenting for the last 20 years or so. And I think it's a very unique path, right? Especially for people who are um, in radio, who are in entertainment, who are in media. I think it's an interesting journey because sometimes that can be hard to let go. So, how
Mhm.
do you think that your experiences in the radio industry have shaped your approach to youth advocacy?
Well, like I said, all the markets that I was working in, an exception of Florida, that I was working in some sort of facility with youth. But I also had a campaign here in Atlanta where I call "Make It Rain in the Hood," where we would go out and we would raise money. Well, at first, when I first started it out, I basically would use my own money, but we would get artists and we would go pop up into certain areas of the city that may need it, like homeless areas. And we first started it out with Young Jock when he was really hot. And I got him to come out to a place called uh, Small 5 Points. And we went out there and we gave away money. And then Shorty Low, we went back to Bankhead.
Rest
And
in peace.
rest in peace. Rest in peace. People don't understand, man. That dude right there was special. So we went back to Bankhead and he gave away a lot of stuff, man. We gave away gift cards from Walmart to money, so all kind of things. And Cujo from Goody Mob, and the list goes on. But I had initiatives like that I was already doing independently outside of the radio. So I love radio, but at the same time, I didn't let radio just take over my life and not just totally just into just radio. I was doing other things throughout my journey of being in radio. So and that's basically it. I didn't let it just basically take over my whole life. I was doing other things, and then when I realized when I got laid off my first layoff in Atlanta from Hot 1079, I was downsizing and I had wrote a lot of the curriculum, not a lot of it, but maybe like a little one third of the curriculum to the pop program through the years. I totally had forgot about it. And once I got back locked back in, it was a wrap. And I seen how effective it was because I was working at a group home and I saw how effective it was. And the group home owner, shout out to Miss Agay, rest in peace to Uncle Nate. They encouraged me to make it a real program, and so that's how I got started.
Hmm. Now, you we talked about going back to 2009 when you first had the idea for the pop program. How have you seen the landscape change in terms of the challenges that our young people are facing compared to when you first started?
Well, social media wasn't as dominant as it is. It wasn't even out, I think, at the time we started
Right,
the program,
right.
and so
MySpace.
yeah, I think MySpace came when I came to Virginia. That's when I think MySpace was.
Hmm.
Yeah, so um, yeah, so it wasn't really like as popular. It probably was out, but not as popular. People wasn't dealing with it as much. But I think social media and just the internet Do you know what I'm saying? I think the internet, as it grew, it brings in a lot of information, and then just a lot of it could be a lot of noise. You know what I'm saying? If you're not really smart and if you're young, you can really fall into the internet and it take you other places. So, I think social media and internet.
I agree, but also I think we will be remiss if we didn't speak to how the sound of music has changed.
Ah, yeah, for sure.
The music has definitely changed,
Hmm.
um, and I think that things are acceptable now that were not acceptable
Then,
before.
yeah.
Um, and I'm of the belief that um, you know rap music specifically, it's for the young people,
Hmm.
right? The popular music, the pop, the music that you hear on the radio, it's for the young people. And I'm also of the belief that as you get older, your
Hmm.
ears, they should and they do become more conservative, right? That's just a fact, right? Our parents heard uh Biggie and Lil Kim and Wu Tang, and they, what is this mess, right? But to us, it was golden. These young people now, they hear Sexy Red and uh, uh, 21 Savage or whoever it might be, and to them it's golden, right? But what I take issue with is that there isn't enough balance
Mm,
from someone who worked in radio for a very long time. There isn't enough balance,
mm,
um, and I think that for us to see a change, there's number one going to have to be more balance, and number two, I think that parents are going to have to have these conversations with their kids, right? I tell this story all of the time. When the boy XXX Station was shot and killed some years back, I was speaking to a group of young people. My daughter was there with me. I made the announcement to them that he had been killed, right? I told them. I've never seen a sadder group of kids in my life. But it wasn't until I had a conversation with my daughter that um, I realized that the same way that we felt when Biggie was killed, the same way we felt when Tupac was killed, is the exact same way they felt in that moment, right?
mm,
But this was an opportunity for me to have a conversation with her because I also realized that this was the first time that she had ever dealt with grief.
mm,
Her first experience with grief came from losing a rapper that she adored. And I don't care who you are, that hurts. When Michael Jackson died, people hurt. When Prince died, people hurt. When these rappers, Juice World and all of these rappers died, these kids hurt. And a lot of these rappers that they are listening to, the difference between now and 2009 or 2005 or 2003 is that these rappers are rapping about their emotions, they're rapping about their own pain, but they're also rapping about self-medicating. And that's where it gets dangerous,
mm.
right? They're rapping about taking pills. They're making music about drinking lean. They're
Yeah.
making music about having sex with 10, 15 different men or women, right?
Mm,
And I think those are all just means of self-medicating. Those are
mm,
means to hide the hurt that you're going through. And that's where it gets dangerous. Because our kids begin to think that when you have a problem, that that's how you deal with it.
mhm,
So I think as parents, we have to have those types of conversations with our young people and let them know how they can cope with some of the things that they're going through. Like we don't know what it's like to be 15 and to have lived through COVID. Like I
mhm,
tell my daughter all the time, like I would not want to be a child, a teenager right now. Like, nah, I no way.
mm,
But that's what they live through. And it's totally different than our experiences. So I think it's important that we understand and that we give them grace in those areas, but also have those real conversations with them.
Me and Young Thug had a conversation, right? So
Mhm.
um, I came to him because I used to be in the studio with, when there was getting really started as far as making his transition from being somewhat local to kind of getting to that next step, the next level. And so he always he was taking everything, he was leaning, whatever. But we had this conversation and I said, yo, I need a favor from you. And he was like, what? I was like, I need you to come and talk to some kids and da da da. He was like, no, man. And I was like, bro, come on, man. You know what I'm saying? So um I got my guy Rip, big up to my man Rip and DJ Scream. And Rip bought him, but I made sure that he wasn't high or drunk or anything.
Mhm.
And he came and he did it, so that was he showed a lot of love just doing that alone. But the conversation uh, of how people self-medicate and why
Mhm. Mhm.
was kind of interesting. And I had that conversation with a couple of rappers because you know being in the music industry, it was fortunate because I was able to get some of the artists to come by and talk to the kids, whether we was at a group home, whether we was at a community center or whatever. But it's like I said with Shorty, Lord rest in peace, and Trinidad James and Jeezy and different people, talking to them about that is quite interesting because they are really get caught up in the whole self-medication thing. And but why is that? Because they're expressing themselves through the music. Why do you think they still have to self-medicate?
I think they don't understand. They've never been taught healthy coping mechanisms,
Mm,
right? I think the music is something that a lot of times may come natural to some people. To some people, the music is just a hustle. But I think, there's you and I both know, like when you're in the limelight, there's a lot that comes with that, right? There's a lot that comes with that. And rappers ain't the first ones to fall into that trap. I mean, we saw what happened with Whitney. We saw what happened with
mhm,
Michael. Like Michael had to take propofol just to go to sleep. You know what I mean? I think um that's a level of mental stress that most of us will never understand.
mm,
Um and I think there's a lot of shame that comes with it. I think there's um a lot of guilt that comes with it. Like you said, a lot of these artists are dealing with things and traumas that have never been dealt with.
mhm,
And if you don't deal with those traumas, they're gonna express themselves one way or another, right? And I think that, these artists are, at the end of the day, they're still regular people, right? There's still some artists out there who might have been molested as a child, right? There's still some artists out there who might have seen their father beat their mother. There's
mm,
still some artists out there whose parents were addicted to crack and gave them away when they were like that trauma don't go nowhere, right? But if you don't know how to deal with that trauma, now all of a sudden you are a multimillionaire and you have access to every type of drug. You have access to every type of woman, every type of alcohol, whatever your vice is. If you're someone like Young Thug, you can touch it, and there's nobody around you that's going to tell you not to touch it because you are the breadwinner for 300 people.
mhm.
So they ain't gonna say, "Hey, bro, you might want to put that lean down." They gonna give you some more lean,
Right.
you know. And I think it's important again for us as adults to express this to our babies. I had the conversation with my daughter when Juice World passed away. Juice World was so, like, his music reflected the pain that he was going through, but he was so hurt and in so much pain and so scarred that he was on a plane, and instead of like thinking about what to do with the drugs that he had, he he swallowed them.
Mhm.
Like it was that important to him. Like he didn't overdose on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't want to get caught with the drugs.
Right.
Like that's an addiction. And
Yeah.
that's somebody who's fighting what comes with having that addiction. And now he's gone.
Yeah. Mac Miller. Yeah.
Mac Miller. Mac
Mhm.
Miller. And I think, the other conversation that we have to have with these kids is that, this fentanyl is taking people out of here.
Mhm.
And as parents, we have to be sure that our babies know that there's a possibility if you take the wrong drug, you can go to sleep and not wake up.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, the
That's
weed that they're selling now, it's different than this ain't the chronic. Like this ain't chocolate tie. This it's
definitely
different.
different. It's really
It's
different.
different. So those conversations are important, man. Go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing with you that it's definitely different.
Mhm.
You sound like a professor now, man. What's up? Is this the approach you taking right now?
Well, this is what the Dads in the Class podcast is about, man. We want to be sure that folks really really know how important it is to connect with these kids, because we're in jeopardy of losing a generation.
That's why I'm so passionate, man. That's why I'm so passionate about what we're doing. Shout out to my board of, of professionals who are working diligently with me to really get this out. I'm so passionate about it because we're losing our kids, man. It's getting really dangerous out here. Also, you're just seeing so many negative behaviors that it's unreal. You sent me a
Mhm,
video that was so disturbing. I didn't like it. You know what I'm saying? Because of the behavior that the kid was displaying. But
mhm,
this is where we are, and that's why I'm so passionate about, pushing pop to that next level, because I know from the testimonies that I've got over the years of kids who I knew they was going to jail. Even the kids that are in jail, I get emails or DMs for some people who are in jail, and they tell me, like me moving back to Atlanta, I have multiple kids saying, Mr. Pezo, you need to bring Pop back to Atlanta. Like we need it right now. Like, so this is nothing that I envisioned. This is all organic. It came, God blessed me with the idea, and I'm just as passionate about this as I was about radio. You know what I
mhm,
mean?
mhm, mhm.
So, I feel you. I feel you on that. And some days I have moments when I see certain things that I really get down. But at the same time, I know this is going to be a fight. We have to do something right now. You know what I mean? Because we're losing our kids in a large number across the country. And you see all these different behaviors of kids running up in stores, and the 11-year-old that just shot two guys after the
Football
football
game.
right, yeah, the
Mhm,
football practice
mhm,
or game. You know what I'm saying? A 6-year-old shooting his teacher in
mhm.
school. So I mean, this is where we are. So when you have programs and initiatives, people need to get behind these things and help, because it ain't easy at all. And you
Mhm,
have a nonprofit, you're dealing with that. It's not easy. And sometimes what kills the passion for it is the struggle of trying to, you know, on a shoestring budget, trying to do these things that are helping other people. So,
mhm, mhm. Another thing that I think that we need to do is, as a people, we need to be sure that we are advocating for um, gun laws, right?
mm,
Because I think we are seeing that things are not only they're not just getting out of control. A lot of things are out of control,
mhm,
and that the changes that we are looking for are a lot of times going to happen from a legislative level. I had a brother on the show, Greer Webb, last week. He is actually down there with you in Atlanta, but he's here from North Carolina. Sharp brother, man. And we just talked about how important it is going to be for future generations to um, have these gun laws in place, right? Because there's no way that we can continue going the direction that we're going in, right? When you think about the first mass shooting at elementary school at Sandy Hook 10 years ago, um, everyone was shocked and in awe when that shooting happened, and those kindergartners and those teachers were shot and killed in that school. Fast forward to now, I think Uvalde, the shooting in Uvalde was last year, I believe. But it seems like there is a school shooting at least once every couple of months, right? And it doesn't have that same shock effect on us as a society anymore because we've become immune to it. We're used to it. We're used to seeing the news and seeing young people on the news getting shot and killed. So I think it's going to take an effort of not just people on the ground, people with grassroots efforts, but I also think it's going to take folks getting involved in politics. I think it's going to take folks getting involved in elections, local elections, deciding what judges are put in place. All of these things are going to have to change if we want to see some real results, right? Because you can't do it by yourself. I can't do it by myself. Um, it's going to have to be a collective effort on all levels
All
if
right.
we want to see change, right? If we want to see um, kids with less anger management, I'm sorry, with less anger issues in school, one of the issues could be that we need to be sure that fathers are engaged in the lives of their kids, right? Because a lot of this anger is because these kids don't feel like they're loved. It's because they don't feel like there's anyone there to give them the love and support that they need. So they're just going to take it out on the first thing that they see or the first person that they see.
That's the main component. Like what you're doing, like dealing with, fathers and trying to get fathers, back into their child's lives. That's the main component that I see that I witnessed over the
Mhm,
years. Is that
mhm,
a lot of these kids are mad because their dad is not around.
mhm,
And they might act like they're fine and everything is cool and all that, but that inside of them is eating them alive.
mhm,
And that's
mhm,
where a lot
mhm,
of the behaviors come from is when they don't have that guidance. And it's one thing to when you're the mother raising the kid by herself, that's fine. But if you have to find some sort of mentor men that can come in and be able to help mentor the kid or something. But just the absence of the father causes a lot of damage to the child, and you don't even really realize it. So what you're doing is a great thing, man, when you're dealing with dads, you know what I mean? So big up to your initiative and what you're doing, because that's the main component that I see as really causing the kids to be angry, impulsive behavior, and just having, some mental health issues.
mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah, I thank you, great brother. Your career has been multifaceted, and you have a very unique perspective. What advice would you give to parents, counselors, educators to actually build a bridge and connect and support at-risk youth?
Well, we got to start really looking at grassroots initiatives.
Mhm,
And I feel that we need to be more open minded. I think that, sometimes we get caught up in the letters, PhD, masters, all of that stuff. But a lot of times, those people are great, but they don't relate sometimes. And I think we need to really sit down and be open minded about an unconventional style of being able to engage youth. You know, what I mean, I think that sometimes, and I have my bachelor's, but I'm not that kind of guy who gonna, yeah, this or that and whatever about, me, um, having my bachelor's. But I think that really, like, when it comes to sitting down at a table with a collective of people, I think
Hmm.
everybody needs to be open-minded and not feel that their theory is more better because they may have their PhD or masters or whatever than anybody else. I just really think that if we really care for the kids, really care for, and I'm talking about sincerely care for the kids, then we need to, put our egos and pride to the side and be real open and open into different ideas.
Mm. Mm. I agree. What's next? What's next for the pop program, and how can the community get involved?
Well, what's next for the pop program right now? We're working on the a series of videos that are going to go with the methods of the seven pop methods, seven methods of pop. And our next initiative, we're doing a camp during Thanksgiving, and we're doing it at the Patchwork Studio, the legendary Patchwork Studio. So big up to Kurt. So what we're gonna do on the Thanksgiving holidays, we're gonna have like 30 youth come in, and we're gonna take them through the curriculum, and then we're gonna record their compositions there at the studio. And then after we do that, we're gonna take their different compositions and make a compilation. But then we're gonna get the parent to come in and have a meeting with the staff, the committee that we have, and like I said, take segments of that particular participant stuff and listen to it, and then talk to the parent about what we see or hear in the music or we see in the drawings of what's going on with that particular kid, so we can get some sort of a communication type of agreements between the child and the guardian. So
Mhm.
that's our next initiative to do, and we raising money to so the kids don't have to pay for it. So you know, if you can donate, please donate. You can go to payingonpaper.com. Please leave a donation because Showtime can tell you, Dion can tell you. I'm very passionate about this, and we know that you need passion to be able to, you know, relate to these kids to let them know that you really love them and you love what you're doing. So if you can donate whatever you can, we're a 501c3. You could be able to write it off on your taxes. Tax time is coming up soon. So please, if you can, just go to payingonpaper.com and you'll see the donation button. And there's a lot of different things on the site, and just get familiar.
Mm. That's good. Lastly, last question. Our society seems to be very divided right now, especially around issues pertaining to our youth, pertaining to education, pertaining to social emotional learning, pertaining to a lot of the things that we've talked about in this episode. What message of hope and unity would you share with those folks who are striving for a better future for our young folks?
Just put God first. You got to first and foremost start with God. If you don't include God into whatever you're doing, it's not going to work. And we just got to definitely pray, and give it to God, and just be open, and talk with your child. It's hard, when you're a parent and kids feel like they can't really relate to you. But there's different things that you can consider. Like I said, it's unconventional. The concept that we're doing is not, is I feel like it will be at some point, but right now it's not. So try unconventional things. And just, the best thing I can tell you, man, is just put God into your mix.
Mm, mm. I like it. Tell them your social media, Pezo.
You can my social media is Pezo Johnson. It's Pezo Johnson. You can check me out on there. You can check me out on Pain on Paper Pop on all social media. But more importantly, we need your help. Like go to painonpaper.com and give a donation. We want to do this all over the country. We've done it in Virginia. We've what I mean. We've done it in North Carolina, Asheville, North Carolina. And we've done it and we're doing it in Atlanta and surrounding areas. So we want to be able to do this in a New Orleans, a DC, a Philly, where you
Mm,
see these different situations with guns and violence. I want to do them there. So the only way that we can really do it is that we need your support. So this
mm,
is this is the time when you can, if you feel and you're angry about certain things you see on the news, make a contribution to something that hey, I want to try my, because you're not really just giving us the money to be able to do these things, but you're giving us the funds to help us to be able to get the message out. But you also use is a tax write off, so why not? I mean,
cool.
is that? Man, thank you for just having me on the dad in the class. You know what I'm saying? I'm just thankful for being on that. But what I mean, you gotta lighten up some, man. You look like a professor, you acting like a professor. You gotta lighten up, man.
I appreciate you, great brother. Thank you for coming on the show, man. It's been a pleasure as always, man. We gotta have you back at some time to hear about just more of the great work that the Paint on Paper program is doing, and just hear about a lot of the successes that you got going on. So we can bring you back soon, good brother.
Man, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much, man. And keep representing, man. That's all I can say.
Yes, yes,
God
sir.
bless. All right.
All right, y'all. Don't forget, download the podcast, subscribe to it, check us out on all platforms, all DSPs. Be sure to subscribe, be sure to like it, and most importantly, just share it with somebody who you think could benefit from the podcast.